There are rumors circulating that North Korea is once again sending troops to the war in Ukraine, and this time it's said to be the largest scale ever. Let's take a proper look at this today. Let's get right into it. President Zelensky of Ukraine revealed that they are closely monitoring the cooperation between Russia and North Korea, and that Russia wants to deploy an additional 30,000 troops from North Korea. He also mentioned that preparations have already been underway since June in the Voronezh region of Russia to accommodate these troops. As you can see on the screen, Voronezh is a city in the southwest of Russia, adjacent to Ukraine. Until now, North Korean troops had only been stationed in the Kursk region, but now they are planning to expand their deployment to Voronezh as well. President Zelensky of Ukraine also stated that North Korea is preparing to transfer additional ballistic missile launchers to Russia, emphasizing that this is not just a threat to Ukraine. He went on to say that Russia is helping North Korea learn how to conduct warfare, upgrade their weapons, and gain real combat experience. He added that all of this poses a threat to every Asian country within the range of North Korean missiles. Originally, North Korea sent about 14,000 troops to Russia to support the war in Ukraine. Although it was assessed that there were considerable sacrifices on the front lines, North Korea also gained quite a lot, in particular by directly experiencing a modern warfare environment that had been difficult to encounter in actual combat until now. They secured an opportunity to make significant changes to their combat methods. They were able to closely learn and practice various tactics used in the latest battlefields, such as reconnaissance and attacks using drones, responses to electronic warfare, and operations linking artillery with unmanned aerial vehicles. This is considered a very important experience for the North Korean military, which had been accustomed to conventional warfare. It is also known that Russia continued to provide economic support, including food, energy, and various military supplies, in return for North Korea's military assistance. For North Korea, which had been struggling under international sanctions, this support is analyzed to have been a significant help in maintaining its internal economy. In addition, as military and technological cooperation expanded, the possibility of Russian technical support in the fields of satellites, missiles, and defense industry has been consistently mentioned. In actual combat, North Korean troops were deployed alongside Russian forces in major operations, in particular during the process of securing the Russian Kursk region, which had been occupied by Ukrainian forces. North Korean troops participated in the fighting and reportedly contributed to Russia's counteroffensive operations. It has been assessed that North Korean troops were a key force during Russia's process of regaining control over the region. Of course, there were many casualties during that process, but Russia held the combat effectiveness of North Korean troops in high regard, and the military cooperation between the two countries became even closer than before.
This helped make that possible.
For reference, North Korea dispatched 14,000 troops, and 9,500 of them were deployed in actual combat. Out of the 9,500 troops deployed in actual combat, more than 7,000 became casualties. In fact, it appears that behind-the-scenes negotiations are continuing. On July 18th, Choi Sun-hui, North Korea's foreign minister, officially visited Russia. At that time, President Putin of Russia once again expressed his gratitude to the North Korean leadership for their assistance in carrying out the special military operation. It is presumed that discussions about troop dispatch between Russia and North Korea took place during this process. The reason Russia is even considering utilizing North Korean troops is due to the burden of war that is arising within Russia itself. Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Russia has deployed a massive number of troops, but as the war drags on, maintaining and replenishing forces has become an increasingly important issue. With the front lines expanding, securing new troops is necessary to continue offensive operations, but implementing additional mobilization is a significant political burden for the Russian leadership. In 2022, Russia mobilized a large number of reservists through a partial mobilization order. At that time, many young people moved abroad, and there was social backlash within Russia, and from the Kremlin's perspective, they have no choice but to consider the impact that large-scale additional mobilization would have on public opinion. As the war drags on, Russia is forced to balance military necessity with domestic political burdens. In this situation, utilizing the troops of a friendly country like North Korea is seen as one alternative that Russia can choose. Compared to recruiting additional troops domestically, this approach allows Russia to secure the necessary forces for the front lines while reducing political burden. In particular, North Korea is known to be expanding its role not only in providing troops, but also in supplying military supplies as it strengthens military cooperation with Russia. From Russia's perspective, the deployment of North Korean troops could be a means to maintain its warfighting capability. It could supplement some of the forces that the Russian military would otherwise have to deploy directly, and it is also expected to reduce the strain and need for existing troops. This can also be interpreted as an attempt to alleviate manpower shortages caused by a prolonged war through external cooperation. However, increasing reliance on foreign troops also means that Russia is taking on new burdens as it tries to prolong the war. If North Korea were to send an additional 30,000 troops to Russia, the scale of North Korea's military support would far exceed previous levels. Compared to the previously known scale of North Korean troop deployments, this would mean that more than twice as many troops would be participating in Russia's war. This can be interpreted as a sign that Russia is expanding its military cooperation with North Korea to address the manpower shortages caused by the prolonged war. Russia has been struggling to maintain a steady supply of troops as the war in Ukraine has continued for more than 3 years. Despite deploying many troops, the Russian military needs more forces to hold the front lines and launch offensives simultaneously. In this situation, the additional deployment of North Korean troops could serve as a way for Russia to supplement its combat forces. Above all, the reason why the recent rumor of 30,000 additional North Korean troops being dispatched should be closely watched is because it is closely linked to the possibility of Russia mobilizing a large-scale force. The Center for Countering Disinformation under Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council reported that the Russian military plans a major mobilization to address troop shortages and prepare for new operations. According to their analysis, Russia is preparing a plan to secure up to 500,000 troops ahead of the fall. Some of the mobilized forces are expected to be deployed to the existing front lines in a short period of time, while the rest may undergo training for a certain period and then be used in new operations. This is being interpreted as an attempt by Russia to significantly increase its troop numbers, given that it currently has to conduct both defensive and offensive operations at the same time. Ukraine is also taking this possibility seriously. Believing that Russia could secure new troops and expand its offensive, Ukraine is strengthening its defensive posture on the northern and northeastern fronts, and is also redeploying its forces. Ukraine is preparing not only for Russia to maintain its existing front lines, but also for the possibility that Russia might attempt additional offensives in new areas. If 30,000 more North Korean troops are deployed and Russia mobilizes on a large scale at the same time, Ukraine's burden will increase beyond current levels.
Could become much heavier.
More troops may be sent to the front line, and the prolonged fighting could become even more intense. Ukraine is addressing its manpower shortage by increasing drone and unmanned system use, but defending a wide front line remains a significant challenge. As the size of the troops increases, the resources, ammunition, and equipment needed to maintain the defensive line will inevitably increase as well. Analysts say that the longer the battle drags on, the greater the burden Ukraine will have to bear. Meanwhile, there have been signs of Ukraine getting involved in the Middle East conflict. Although President Trump has chosen to hold off on airstrikes for now, Ukraine attacked Iran's merchant ship. On July 25, Ukraine carried out several airstrikes against Russia. During this time, air raid sirens sounded in Moscow. The Ukrainian military also attacked supply ships heading from the Caspian Sea to Iran. President Zelensky of Ukraine announced that they achieved significant results in the long-range strike operations carried out in the Caspian Sea. He explained that this included ships and warships used for transporting military supplies related to Iran, but it has not yet been confirmed exactly what kind of military supplies those ships were carrying. This ship was an Iranian merchant vessel. One crew member died, another was injured, and Iran is strongly protesting. The Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said their merchant ship was attacked in the Caspian Sea, causing casualties, and called it a violation of international law. They specifically criticized Ukraine, stating attacks on civilian ships violate the UN Charter and its principles. Iran told European nations that if they are concerned about rising tensions in the Middle East, they should take steps to hold Ukraine accountable. The reason Iran reacted sensitively to this incident is because of the strategic value of the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea serves as a major logistics route connected to northern Iran, and it is an important channel for Iran to continue trade with neighboring countries. Especially as southern maritime routes are restricted due to sanctions and military tensions, the movement of goods through the Caspian Sea plays a crucial role in maintaining Iran's economy and supply chain. The conflict between Ukraine and Iran is also linked to the military cooperation between Russia and Iran. Since the early stages of the war in Ukraine, Iran has been known to provide Shahed suicide drones to Russia, and since then, the two countries have expanded their cooperation in the fields of drones and military technology. Ukraine has continuously criticized this military cooperation, saying it enhances Russia's war capabilities. This recent attack is drawing attention because Ukraine is expanding its range of targets to include the supply networks of countries cooperating with Russia. The Ukrainian side stated that it targeted ships used for transporting Iranian military supplies and Russian military facilities. This is being analyzed as an attempt to cut off the military connection between Russia and Iran. In particular, as military tensions between the United States and Iran have recently eased somewhat, there were expectations that the situation in the Middle East might be entering a safer phase. However, with this incident, tensions are rising again. And what many people are concerned about is that if these separate wars become interconnected, there is a fear that this could escalate into a major war. We are now seeing the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, which are different conflicts, gradually becoming linked.